What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today we're going to talk about this win, baby. Washington beats the Green Bay Packers 23-20 in a game where Hero Heinickie, the X Factor, comes out and shows why he was the better quarterback, even though we understand Carson Wentz comes with the arm. But the fact that Taylor comes in and inspires the team to play well the whole game. I mean, understand this was a big team win. I mean, special teams look good. Antonio Gibson looked good all day today. Running back the kickoffs and running the ball, he actually looked very good today. And catching a big touchdown in the first half and getting a penalty that also, kind of alleviated the Green Bay touchdown. So, again, inspired play. And like I said, to me, again, this all comes due to the X Factor, Taylor Heinickie. First, I want to give a shout out to one of my commenters, Mass Collector. Mass Collector was the only person in the comments that honestly and truly wanted Taylor Heinickie. He was the one. I remember in Tennessee, after the Tennessee game, he was the only one who came out and said, I'm ready to see Taylor. He was done with Carson Wentz. I was done with Carson Wentz as well, but he was absolutely done with Carson Wentz. And he like I said, after the Tennessee game, well, he said something actually in the Detroit, I think it was, in the Eagles game. He said something in the Eagles game about Taylor. And then all of a sudden in the Tennessee game, he was like, I don't need to see Carson Wentz anymore. I want to see Taylor. Then all of a sudden, after the Chicago game, and this was like the craziest thing ever, after the Chicago game, Mass Collector sat up there and made this comment. He said, hey, look, I just want to see Taylor now. I don't want to see Carson Wentz anymore. I said, look, I don't see them benching Carson Wentz for Taylor Heinickie. Like, Ron is going to stick with Wentz. And he said, but I have faith. And next thing you know, out comes the fact that Carson Wentz has a major injury, needs surgery, and Taylor is in to save the day. It's the craziest thing ever. But like I said, shout out to Mass Collector. You called it, bro. You called it. But let's get to the game. I mean, you're talking about, I told y'all, Taylor was going to start out slow. The one thing I will say is that Scott has to understand. We talked about this about Scott, but for last year, he has to get Taylor warmed up. Taylor is not the type of quarterback you go out there in the first quarter and say, okay, first play, first quarter, you're going to do a 65-yard fly pass. Like, no, you can't do that with Taylor. You got to get Taylor warmed up. And you saw that Scott started to adjust. And once he adjusted, he started getting Taylor the little screen plays and all that type of stuff. All of a sudden, Taylor settled down. And next thing you know, he started playing well. Because understand, Taylor's energy is always high. It's almost like he has football anxiety. It's always high before the game. So if you don't do plays to settle his high down, then you're going to start seeing what we saw in the first half, which was him 1 for 7 in the first half. But then as the game started to go on, Taylor's internal clocks and everything started to calm down and he starts to settle in. Now all of a sudden you got a better quarterback. I told you guys, starting out, we were going to see Terry targeted more often because Taylor completely trusts Terry. Taylor is one of those quarterbacks that he feels that all he has to do is get it in Terry's vicinity and Terry's going to get it. He doesn't care where he throws it. He doesn't even care if he sees the pass when he throws it. He just know if I throw it towards Terry and in a place where Terry's going to be, Terry's going to get it. And we saw that. I told y'all that we were going to see his attempts, Terry's Terry being targeted. You were going to see that go up, and we saw that. We saw that go up big time in this game. Let's talk about the offensive line. How many penalties did the offensive line have? How many times did we talk about how bad the offensive line was? Especially when you're talking about what we saw during the time that they were in there with Carson Wentz. We talked about how awful this offensive line was when Carson Wentz was in. Now all of a sudden Taylor comes in, and now all of a sudden you see a completely different offensive line that for some reason isn't jumping or isn't getting a bunch of false starts or isn't sitting up there getting a bunch of holding penalties and things like that. We did not see that today. And those are things that when it comes down to it, those are things we have to pay close attention to. Not only that, we saw the defense start off slow. Then all of a sudden, Taylor has this energetic sequence of plays. He gets down there, they get the touchdown. Next thing you know, that whole defense is turned around. It gets really inspired. And next thing you know, their energy came up. So all of a sudden, you got a completely different defensive team playing. They did a fantastic job. Shout out to Jack Del Rio. I got to give him credit for this one. I guess now that he's focused on actually coaching the defense, even though that 4-down pass rush, you can't argue a person when his front four is getting there. But again, fantastic job. Basically kept Green Bay from converting on third downs. That was absolutely amazing. But again, they played very well. We do see that William Jackson might have been the problem. Don't get me wrong, they would still had like little penalties, holding penalties and things like that. But these officials, they're all over the place at this point. They sat up there and called the pass interference on roughing the passer for Green Bay, but didn't call it for Washington when Taylor had the roughing the passer. So again, great game. Like I said, I knew Taylor was going to come in. I knew he was going to win. Like I said, and for everybody who was talking, a lot of y'all talked about how he's a high-level backup. And like I said, he is that. And not only that, he's a guy that knows the offense better. Efficient offense. I told y'all that was going to happen. I told y'all the offense looks far more efficient with Taylor in. Because in comparison to what we saw, you're talking about we were bad on third downs. I think it was 3 for 22 or something crazy like that. Now you're talking about we didn't have that issue in this game. We didn't have a third down conversion problem. We didn't have the offensive line problem. We didn't have the Terry being targeted problem. We didn't have a run game issue. Understand that this guy, he brings something. There are certain quarterbacks in the league that inspire their entire team. Patrick Mahomes is one. Aaron Rodgers is one. He's one that can inspire his whole team when he's not moping around and stuff like that. But he's one. You talking about again, Taylor Heinickie. He's one. There are guys, Josh Allen, he's another one. There are certain guys that inspire their team when they come out there and they got the energy and they're loving it. And we saw it. We saw Terry super passionate this game. And that's because he knows that no matter what goes on, Taylor is going to find him. Taylor is going to target him. Taylor's going to make sure that he gets him the ball when he needs it, no matter what goes on. And Terry knows that all he has to do is throw that ball near him, and he got it. So, like I said again, the X Factor came in. He came in and he showed that he can actually come in and change the dynamic of this team, change the look of the offense, change everything that happened in this game, made plays. And I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here about to sit up here and say, oh, here we go, we're about to go on a winning streak. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that at this point in time, we can all see that Taylor gives us the best chance to win. Because it was so funny that as the game is going on, people were talking about benching Taylor very early in the game and bringing in Sam Howell. And it's like, y'all, it's only the first quarter. Like, wait a minute. Give this man some time. But again, Taylor pulls it out. He does a fantastic job. Fantastic job by the defense. I mean, like I said, basically, you're talking about we were in the fourth quarter and the stat line was crazy. You're talking about, like Green Bay had 0 conversions, no conversions in the game at that point. So I mean, like that and you're talking about it was now the fourth quarter and the defense kept on coming. And man, I mean that was some very inspired football. And I do feel that Taylor is going to come out and win more games than what we expect. The benefit that we got, I think Minnesota is here, and I think Philadelphia is here. So the benefit Taylor actually has is that of the next 4 games, I think 3 of them are here. So he has the benefit of that. So again, like I said, fantastic job by everybody. Like I said, Antonio Gibson had a very solid day. You're talking about kick returns. He actually was making big returns. That was what he specialized back in Memphis. That is his bread and butter. So you know he was going to do well. Then he came in on a couple running plays and actually made sure that it was going to happen. Then he gets the big touchdown where he toe taps into the end zone. Like I said, again, we see a different team now. You know, I told y'all Taylor was going to make this a different team. It is, in fact, a different team. And like I said again, kudos to everybody involved. Like I said, there are things that Scott Turner does, but Taylor somehow makes it okay, because there's a lot of times where Scott Turner calls a bad play and Taylor just makes something out of it. So again, like I said, fantastic win. Glad for the win. Happy for the win. On to Indianapolis on Sunday. The game is actually a late game. It's a 4:25 game, so make sure you're paying attention to that. Other than that, man, y'all tell me what y'all think. Were y'all excited about this game? Do y'all feel that the win was a fluke? Do y'all feel that Green Bay assisted us in the win? Or are you all behind the Heinickie hype train? You know, are you all excited about the X Factor now being the starter until we see what happens with Carson Wentz? Other than that, yeah, this has been your man John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.